Please welcome our superhero sponsor, SPS Commerce, with their super team, Chrissy Mathison, the VP of Sales and Development, Brian Lynch, the Senior Dynamics Product Specialist, and Grant Beresford, the Senior Director of Sales. Together, they will be saving the day with their presentation, Meet the EDI Solution That Scales for Success. Stick around after for a live Q&A with some real-life heroes.
Welcome everybody to the second annual Dynamics Con event. We are super excited that you guys chose to spend some time with us to talk about alternatives to maybe the current EDI solution that you have today, or perhaps you're new to EDI and you just want to learn a little bit more. I'm Chrissy Mathison, sales leader at SPS Commerce. I've been at SPS for about 15 years, and for 12 of those years, I have lived in my favorite market, which is the Microsoft market. If we were all in person, I'm sure I would see many familiar faces, and boy, do I look forward to the next event where we can be live. With me, I brought a couple of my teammates that will maybe just give them some time to introduce themselves. Grant?
Thank you, Chrissy. My name is Grant Beresford. I reside in Southern California. I've got about 25 years in the ERP space, most of which has been spent in the Microsoft Dynamics world. For a time, I worked directly for Microsoft, running the Dynamics group in the Western region. So I too would probably see a lot of familiar faces out there and look forward to reconnecting with all of you in the near future. Brian?
Perfect. So Brian Lynch, I too have been working in the Dynamics community for a long time. Wow, now 24 years. So I reside in Columbus, Ohio. Have had the pleasure of working with Exapta, going all the way back to version 4. Definitely, like all my colleagues, miss meeting everyone in person, but make the best of these virtual sessions. So looking forward to the content here today.
So as you can see, you've got a lot of ERP and EDI experience to help you on this journey. Before we step into the agenda, I just want to take a second to focus on the logo that is in the center of the slide that we're showing. Data Masons is now SPS Commerce. If you haven't heard, late December, SPS Commerce did in fact acquire Data Masons, and the teammates that just introduced themselves, Grant and Brian, come from that Data Masons team. The good news is that SPS and Data Masons have been delivering joint projects together for over a decade. So there really isn't anything new other than you and your customers in the Dynamics space get the opportunity to really take advantage of that end-to-end solution with expertise. So let's dive in and show it to you. We're going to cover today the EDI Landscape, an overview of the SPS Full Service EDI solution. Brian's going to give you a demonstration, and he's been doing it a long time, so I'm excited for you to actually be able to take a look at the product and the expertise driven there. Give you an overview of the support experience, then answer any questions. So while we're on the questions topic, you'll see in the application a chat section. Please feel free to chat your questions in throughout the presentation. We will have a live Q&A section at the end, so we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have and look forward to them. Grant?
Thank you, Chrissy. So as we step back for a moment and look at the landscape of EDI, we find that many customers underestimate the complexity and the required functions to have an effective EDI process within your organization. There's people, process, and technology that all go together to deliver a seamless EDI experience. Starting with technology, you've got to have a software and hardware platform. You need to understand the trading partner world and have expertise at connecting and what document types and those types of issues. You also need to understand ERP when it comes to designing and configuring an effective solution. You need to understand the nuances within ERP and how they interact with your trading partners. You need to understand the communication network. I mean, you start with EDI, which essentially is transactions with your trading partners, but there's many communication connections. AS2, VAN, secure FTP, API, and we're seeing new communication techniques or channels evolve with marketplaces and other things. So there's a fair amount of complexity there. You also have to do effective testing. I mean, this is a mission critical function within an organization. I mean, you're talking about orders and you're talking about invoices and getting paid. So it's critical that you do effective testing prior to launching an EDI solution. This is something that requires overall ongoing support to manage and maintain, to make sure that you're proactively monitoring transactions to ensure that they're being completed. I mean, the last thing you want is that big order from one of your most important customers to get lost in translation. So it's really important that you when you step back and look at implementing an EDI solution, that you have all these components available to you. Most of our competitors focus on a couple of these components. And when you don't have the complete solution, you're going to have fallout in a number of areas. So we see some of the shortfalls typically are in expertise around ERP, the proactive monitoring and analysis. These areas will create big gaps, which will cause you to have significant reliance upon your IT organization. So when you don't have good ERP expertise and all your transactions are managed and monitored by IT, now your user community, whether it be in shipping and receiving, whether it be in finance, whether it be in customer service, these people now get bottlenecked by IT, which causes your costs for IT. They have to increase staffing levels. The other huge problems are if you have inconsistencies with your trading partners, and you can be subject to chargebacks and fees associated with those. You can also see a problem in onboarding of new trading partners. Your sales organization gets excited, they go sign up a new customer, and now it's 3-4 weeks to get them onboarded into your EDI framework. And you have lost business as well as frustration. Bad way to start a new relationship with an important customer. So these are some of the issues, business issues that evolve or arise from not having that complete picture of people, process, and technology in your EDI solution. Chrissy.
Thanks, Grant. One real life example that I just want to share with the audience that hurt my soul when I heard a prospect call SPS. I was involved in this conversation. It happened a couple of years ago. They were working with an alternative EDI provider. They had sent out $500,000 in invoices to Walmart, and those invoices had gone unpaid 60 days beyond what their current payment terms were. When they went and dug into what the issue was, it was an EDI issue that had held up the payment and caused significant cash flow constraints for that particular company. We're going to step now into the SPS solution and that full service offering. And then we'll also just compare that example to the SPS service. What would have happened in that scenario for that prospect that we were just talking about? SPS has been doing this a long time, 20 years. And as Grant mentioned, the core of what we do is around consistently investing and evolving our technology and our network. We're going to talk a little bit more about the network in a second. The team of experts that surrounds that market-leading technology are people who live and breathe EDI every day, all day. It is their full-time job. It's our full-time job. When we think about process and relationships, a really good example would be the department of folks at SPS Commerce, where their only job is to build relationships with buying organizations. So think big box, Target, Walmart, Costco, tier one manufacturers like Procter & Gamble. We understand not only what their EDI specifications are from a technical perspective, but we know the nuance of how those buying organizations actually implement and actually leverage those EDI specifications on the ground. That methodology has led to the network that we have today that we've built over that 20 years. So in the bottom left-hand corner there, you'll see 3,000 trading partners in our network or buying organizations in the retail, distribution, grocery, and manufacturing industries. In the middle there, you'll see 1,000 3PLs. By default, all of the constituents in the supply chain that actually have to touch an order end up in our network. Some of those 3PLs also subscribe to SPS's full service EDI model, and some of them are just participants in our network based on a customer needing to leverage a relationship with them to fulfill goods. On the bottom right-hand side there, you can see the pretty normal security certifications one would expect for this type of solution. And then I'll bring you to the top with that 80,000. That 80,000 pre-mapped connections is really the number of connections that we have available in our network. So when you're asking yourself, I need to do something different with EDI, the mediocre EDI solution I have really isn't working, or potentially you're moving to D365, I would highly encourage you to at least explore what that full service offering would look like, because I don't know why someone would spend the time building those connections over when we've done it already and have 30,000 subscribing customers leveraging those connections.
Chrissy, if I could point out one thing here, you led off the presentation with Data Masons has been acquired and is now part of SPS Commerce. And this existing network and infrastructure is a huge differentiator that Data Masons previously didn't have. So Data Masons has historically hung their hat on the deep integration, and we'll talk about that, and Brian will show that coming soon. But when it comes to the network, Data Masons had to go one-to-one. And this is a huge benefit to our customers because this will speed implementations, it reduces risk and complexity in your solution, and makes it easier to maintain long-term. So a huge difference, and why this marriage between SPS and Data Masons is so effective.
Yeah, I would say that is a great call, Grant. When we think about services that SPS provides, we spend the majority of our time in the blue box in the center talking about order data, or also known as EDI. But SPS, by default, that network that we built, we're solving other problems for our customers in that same vein. On the left-hand side there, where you see item data, if your product lives on the shelves at a big box retailer, you had to get them your item information. And the same complexities and the same business problems that exist with EDI exist with sharing that item data. Costco wants it different than Target. Target wants it different than Walmart. SPS provides a service that allows you to upload your item information one time, and we get it out to your trading partners in the way that they want to be able to view it. On the right-hand side of that blue box where you see sales data, think about EDI 852 or sell-through data. It is a large, complex EDI document that takes a ton of time to dig into and decode to actually reveal the value of that sell-through data. The reality is that if you get your hands on sell-through data, you want to know, where are my products selling? How are they selling? How much inventory do I have? Where are my stockouts? SPS provides an analytics dashboard that basically takes the complexity out of that EDI 852, gives you the ability to subscribe to that dashboard and gain those valuable insights very quickly without a giant IT project. On the bottom there, where you see supplier onboarding, we perform a very similar function as we do connecting to your customers. If you need to connect to your suppliers or manufacturers of goods, we have the capacity to do that and help you onboard them. Now let's talk about EDI and what it actually looks like in the real world. So for anybody who has either deployed an EDI solution, had the luxury of maintaining an EDI solution, and even for those of you who maybe haven't done either of those, this is the reality of what that point-to-point EDI solution looks like. So whether you built it in-house, you're working with another EDI provider, it essentially is point-to-point connections that you need to understand the capabilities and the specifications from the trading partner side, decode all of that, and then you have to wire that into your business process. And essentially what ends up happening is a very complex hairball inside of your ERP environment. My guess is you moved to D365 so that you could get some standardization there. And you're probably coming from an application where you had a ton of business logic built into the previous application. Why recreate that same hairball inside of D365? SPS's approach to that is essentially on the left-hand side there. We talked a lot about the network, and Grant was highlighting that as well. We basically already have all these trading partners built inside of SPS Commerce in our network, with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of customers leveraging those connections. We then take that Data Mason's pre-built, battle-tested, Microsoft-certified, deep ERP business process technology, and we integrate to D365. And Brian's going to show you a demonstration about that here in a couple of minutes. But I just want to highlight the the complexities and the number of connections on the previous slide, down to that one connection to the SPS Commerce network, significantly decreases the IT project that you have in-house to operate EDI. What happens is you end up having business administrators who manage the exceptions. And Brian will help you look at those exceptions or examples of them in that demonstration as well. The last thing I want to call your attention to here on the left-hand side of the equation, we have 4 trading partners. They could be a Target, they could be a 3PL, C.H. Robinson, they could be a Shopify, could be a marketplace like Amazon. For SPS, it doesn't matter who that constituent is in your supply chain. It doesn't matter what EDI documents they need to exchange. We will handle all of that for you, normalize that all down into one purchase order or one advanced ship notice, and allow you to leverage that one connection to SPS Commerce.
So when you look at the combined forces of SPS Commerce and Data Masons, you know, it's like building an all-star team with the 2 best players in the league. You have SPS Commerce, which is, you know, their financials are online, they're publicly traded, 80 consecutive quarters of growth, deep EDI expertise, as in 20 years worth, lots of Microsoft experience, and as we've discussed, the world's largest retail trading network, which brings a ton of value to customers, and it's wrapped in a full service model that enables you to outsource that EDI function. You combine that with Data Masons that has a nice group of customers, 1,500 customers, and brings to market a consulting organization with deep dynamics experience that ranges all the way back to when, you know, Brian started it with AX4 and old versions of NAV, and all the way up through and including current versions of D365 BC and finance and supply chain management. Lots and lots of deep experience there, and most importantly, that deep integration that enables customers to leverage EDI information across multiple departments within their enterprise so that their users can leverage the power of EDI information from the comfort of their D365 user interface and feel right at home, not jump to another application, not call IT, but just seamlessly take care of the transactions as they need be.
One thing I would add there, if you're in the audience and you are a current Data Masons customer, no need to worry. Nothing's going to change for you. You get to experience the same team that you worked with, the same technology that you worked with. If you're in the audience and you're a Data Masons customer and the network approach or the full service approach is intriguing to you, we certainly can help you understand how to evaluate that. That absolutely is an option for you.
And that's important, Chrissy. And I think I'd just add on top of that, you know, we talk about the marriage of Data Masons and SPS Commerce. This has been a dating or a process of 10 plus years where we've done many projects together. And this is why it's such a good fit. Our organizations are used to working together, whether it be on the sales side or the implementation side. it's a well-oiled machine going in. So it really fits nicely. So as I mentioned, the Data Masons integration, or automation, we call it, we've used the phrase tightly integrated and loosely coupled for many years. And the reason being is the tight integration I talked about, having your users able to leverage the EDI information and deal with transactions in different departments from the comfort of their user interface of D365. And when we say loosely coupled, what we mean to communicate there is that we've architected this integration following Microsoft's prescribed methods so that we don't customize ERP. Because as you move into the D365 environment, you will be required to take upgrades every year, 2 to 3 at a minimum, and could be many more than that. And so it's really, really important to keep D365 as vanilla and untouched as possible. And so we've architected it so that EDI does not in any way, shape, or form customize the core of your ERP application. And Brian's going to take you through a little bit more of the detail behind that, and then he's actually going to show it to you in a live demonstration. Brian?
Perfect. Well, thanks, Grant. So as we're going to walk through the live presentation, again, this is a Microsoft certified approach that is going to leverage the OData integration framework, by Microsoft. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and switch our screen here, and we will go ahead and jump into the live dynamics. And so as a Dynamics user, this is a role-based approach. And so the SPS Commerce Data Masons capabilities has added our EDI workspace. So I have those KPIs that are important to my individual role. Now, the reality is that typically EDI is set up on a full automation schedule. So maybe this morning, I got 1,000 sales orders. Some of those were from Target and Costco, kind of on our wholesale account business. But we also may have had our, e-commerce marketplaces, and different areas that Amazon, et cetera, has come in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at all of our open sales orders. And I'm going to call to your attention a few different areas, one of which is the fact that we have denoted all of these sales orders as EDI. Now, again, if I had, all of our various business partners, we would see all of that inside of Dynamics. If any of that triggered our business logic for holds, we would have our holds there visible as well. What I'm going to go ahead and do is take a look at a given transaction. Now, if I were to key this sales order into the system, I would have to know my part number to maybe Target's part number, what unit of measure that I need to sell that at, what warehouse would I have assigned it to. If I get into areas such as service allowance charges, these are all great areas that obviously Dynamics, tracks for us. But with the SPS system automation, all of that has been automated. And again, to our Data Masons customers, this is really the level of integration that you have had. And now in combination, with SPS, the projects that we've done jointly together really has been able to leverage that power of the network. And so when we go back to say, how does the system automation know that Target is an EDI customer? I'm going to go ahead and again, just use standard Dynamics to drill back into our accounts receivable setup screen. And again, this is standard Dynamics, but what has been added through the extension layer, you'll now notice that there is an EDI tab. And specifically, we can identify that in this case, Target is an EDI capable business partner. What transactions are they doing? And what are some of the business rules? Now, the value of the SPS network is I don't have to know what's their AS2 information and manage their certificates and all of the things that, sometimes a managed solution, forces you, the Dynamics user, to really have to build and maintain. That's all handled by the network for you. Now, as we get into things like our items, our service allowance charges, our ship to addresses, we're leveraging the master data setup that you have stored inside of Dynamics. Now, as Chrissy had indicated, EDI, yes, it's a standard, but it's, as I sometimes say, it's the standard with trillions of combinations. What Amazon needs is different than what Target needs, which is different than what Walmart needs. Again, that has been normalized for us through the SPS network. All that I need to do here is set up and synchronize our master data. Now, as I go through the day-to-day processing, again, leveraging Dynamics, I may elect to, individually process our sales orders, or you may have, batch processing turned on inside of Dynamics, where you're doing this in more waves, and processes there. And so as a customer service representative, as these sales orders come in, I may be walking through steps such as confirm the sales order, which is maybe our triggering event to send out our purchase order acknowledgement. Maybe I'm doing my own warehouse fulfillment. And by the way, SPS system automation is fully compatible with advanced warehousing, but we also work with a number of third-party solutions. So Manhattan WMS, RF Smart, and so WMS, forecasting, there's a number of areas that beyond standard Dynamics that this system has been able to integrate with. Now, as that picking ticket goes out to the warehouse and we execute our pick, pack, ship, at some point we're going to get a packing slip back that lets us know what was fulfilled, what was our tracking numbers, the system producing the serialized container code labeling, GS1 128 labels, for instance, that may be needed by our retail partners. And then eventually we're going to want to get paid for our goods, and we're going to generate out our invoices, and eventually we're going to receive back our payment remittance information. Now, again, right inside of Dynamics, if I take your attention to that EDI button, you'll notice that we have Transaction Lifecycle Explorer. What Transaction Lifecycle Explorer allows that end user visibility to is the fact that, hey, this sales order was tied to this particular purchase order acknowledgement, which was tied to this 3PL picking ticket, which generated this advanced ship notice, which then led to our invoice. Now, you'll see on my screen that this is color-coded red. Grant talked about the fact that exception management is really at the key to our system automation. It's not uncommon for our customers to receive thousands of orders, maybe in a single session. At that scalability, you want the system to bring to your attention those exceptions. Now, as an end user, maybe you don't know what the problem is or how to fix it. Again, with the SPS system automation, we're going to empower those end users to be self-sufficient. Literally, step 1, do this, step 2, do that, step 3, call Brian. And by the way, before you do, make sure you have this particular information. All of that can be standardized to your standard operating procedures. Now, we today have been kind of focused on that order to cash cycle, but we do this also with procure to pay, with our logistics providers, with our carriers. So there's 80 pre-built integration points plus that, again, that you can really leverage with, again, the SPS Commerce system. Now, I do want to give you a little bit of a preview to, some of the KPIs and the administration capabilities. And so here, if we look at our main dashboard, you can see that the system is monitoring all of that traffic that's happening at the network level. Now, again, Brian Lynch in customer service, he doesn't like this particular dashboard. He wants to see only Walmart. By the way, if there is something that is important to him, these KPIs are actionable. So we can actually drill down into that meaningful information that allows your team to really maximize the automation level and again, manage by exception. Now, all of this information is supported with a very robust search capability. I'm looking for that Amazon order that came in last week that had these particular criterias. So it makes that process very, very seamless. And at the heart of the engine is our scheduling capabilities. And so, again, pre-built Microsoft certified level integration, we can actually go through and configure the workflow that's meaningful for you. The reality of the SPS Commerce customer base is we're dealing with different industries, we're dealing with different products. How you handle Amazon may be a little bit different. And so we can actually configure to those variances. And so in this case, maybe our outbound process for invoices, maybe you have one extra step that you want to do, and maybe you don't want that to happen every minute, you want it to happen every hour. Again, our teams are going to be able to configure for these types of variances. Now, as those things occur, again, the system has additional exception reporting that allows us to bring, those things that happen, to our managers and to the folks that are dealing with this on a day-to-day. But again, all going through the dashboards, allowing you that alerts, and again, having that deep integration. So this is really just kind of a preview to the system automation. I'm going to turn it back over to Judy to talk a little bit about some of the other capabilities that we have within our fulfillment platform.
Thanks so much, Brian. Really appreciate that. Maybe some of you caught Brian calling me Judy, which isn't surprising because you'll see her at the end. She manages our Microsoft channel relationships, has been in the market for a really long time, and many people get Judy and I confused because the both of us have been in this market together for a really long time. So that just made me laugh, Brian. Thank you for that laugh. As we move into talking about, Brian just obviously overviewed the automation with D365. What you see here is just a snapshot of the SPS Commerce Fulfillment solution. Worth noting that many of our customers use both the automation that Brian talked about and also the SPS Fulfillment solution for low volume trading partners. You just won business with Costco. You're not sure they're going to buy from you next season. So you would be able to be fully EDI compliant with the fulfillment solution from SPS. The other very, very, very important thing about fulfillment, and many of you, as you migrate to or are deploying D365, you're going to put your EDI connections and your supply chain connections at risk when you do any changes from an ERP perspective. So what our customers do is they leverage the fulfillment solution, one, for a backup, and two, to ensure that they're always compliant and have visibility into the orders, depending on where they are in that ERP deployment phase. We've all been in technology projects before. They're high pressure. So the ability to leverage a fulfillment solution that isn't dependent on an ERP solution allows everybody to take a little bit of a deep breath. When you think about what it's like to work with us from an implementation perspective, first thing is just know we're going to take the lead for you. So if you choose SPS Commerce, we're going to call that trading partner for you. We're going to call Target and Costco. We're going to coordinate the setup. We're going to coordinate the testing. We're going to move you into production with Target and Costco because we called them and we dealt with it. And then from an ongoing perspective, we're going to proactively monitor those transactions for you. Remember that story that I talked about with the $500,000 that was outstanding from Walmart? That company was an SPS Commerce customer. It never would have happened. We would have proactively monitored and known that we sent a bunch of invoices to Walmart where they didn't acknowledge it back. We would have dug in. We would have resolved that issue that day, and that company would have gotten paid at the normal payment terms that they had with Walmart. They wouldn't be in a cash flow situation because we would have gotten ahead of the problem. That's the real difference in full service. When you think about the support experience with us, because we are full service, you will have a differentiated support experience. Again, we're going to lead both the implementation and the ongoing support for you so that you don't have to. We're going to connect directly to your trading partners. And when I say connect, I mean both technically and if it's a phone call, a chat, an email, whatever it is that your customer needs in order to make that connection. And then in the last box there, it's always really important to us that our customers understand not only how to use the services, who to call, to Brian's point earlier, what dashboards, what reporting, what visibility do our customers need? We offer continuing ongoing training and education. Most importantly, because personnel changes. So if you have a mission critical employee who's handling all of your exceptions today, and you replace that person or they leave or they move on to something else, SPS will sign up to bring that person up to speed. Obviously, we won't know your business the way that you know your business from a business process perspective, but we can at least get them introduced to the tools and the support and the services that they have through SPS. When we think about customer success, we always want to make sure that we're ensuring ease of use. We want it to be easy for our customers to be able to engage with SPS services. Based on the demo that Brian just showed, you can see it will be easy for you to process EDI orders because you're using the same D365 technology that you're already used to working with. We want to make sure that you have a personalized experience, and Brian talked about some of the reporting and visibility and views that you can give each constituent inside of your company around what they care about. And then for us, because we are a subscription-based company, we have to earn our customers' business for life. So we're obligated to continue to provide ongoing value to our customers. This Data Masons acquisition is a really good example of that. We have 30,000 subscribing customers. Many of them are Microsoft users. They wanted SPS Commerce to be able to have an end-to-end D365 solution. And in fact, in December 2020, we are now delivering that to our customers.
Thanks, Chrissy. It's kind of interesting how customers teach you things. And over the last 10 years, our customers, many of them are joint customers between Data Masons and SPS Commerce, have taught us that, hey, we want the best of both worlds. And certainly SPS has brought to market that complete solution that we talked about, how you need technology, people, and process to complete a effective EDI solution. What's not represented in that map is the deep integration. And so our customers came to us and, previously it was kind of hard. The customer had to say, well, wait, I like that and I like that. Can I bring those two together? And certainly we did. But now we've made it easy for customers because we're bringing that to market. The best-in-class solution offering the complete set of requirements for an EDI solution combined with that deep integration that's loosely coupled that enables you to fulfill your business processes, leverage EDI across your enterprise, and not hinder yourselves when it's time to upgrade with complexity inside ERP. One thing that I'd like to add to, Brian, great demonstration, by the way, love that, is that, many of our customers, when you think about EDI customers, apparel comes to mind. There's complexities around substitutions, units of measure, et cetera. Same with fresh produce. And we enable you to actually take it a step further by housing some of that required functional capabilities in the EDI solution without having to customize your ERP. So anyway, it's a phenomenal offering now. It's world-class trading partner network combined with that deep integration. And we tell you this stuff, but you can look at the statistics that support this. And retention rates, Data Masons had a very high retention rate as well. SPS has 86% retention rate. And then we also track competitive wins where customers sitting on other platforms for EDI have come to SPS Commerce, typically by virtue of that complete solution, fulfilling all the requirements for an effective EDI solution. So Chrissy, would you like to wrap it up with any closing comments?
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Grant. I hope that next year when I see this team at the Dynamics Con event, hopefully it's in person, But I feel pretty confident that those competitive wins will be going way up. To Grant's point, our customers have been asking us for this end-to-end solution for a long time. It's how we were dating SPS and Data Masons in the market for a very long time. So we're very excited to be able to bring that best-in-class solution to the market. As I mentioned earlier, here's the infamous Judy Weston. She's the channel sales manager, basically the SPS face to the Microsoft space. So please feel free to reach out to her should you have any questions. You can find her on LinkedIn, or her information is here. I would like to thank you all so much for listening to the session. Thank you for being expert chatters. We have a ton of really good questions that we'd love to answer now. So I'll be bringing Judy live. And we will see you in the question and answer section.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for attending our session. It looks like we have a few questions gathering in the queue. Welcome to the Q&A session, and let's start off with one. I think this is probably one for Brian. How do new releases of F&O affect the integration, the EDI integration?
Yeah, definitely. That we talked about this a little bit in the webinar, and so what happens is SPS One is in sync with Microsoft's release schedule, participating in beta programs and verified solution. We have a full QA process that our team goes through, and what that has resulted up to this point is SPS System Automation is ready for those Microsoft updates day one when they're released from Microsoft. So really proud of the effort that our team does to ensure that that happens. Again, we also talked about the fact that tightly integrated, loosely coupled. The approach and the design is not to modify the core dynamic systems, and so that makes our job a lot easier as well. So great
Next
question.
one looks like it's for Chrissy. Where's Judy?
Yeah, it turns out I didn't have all the details when we pre-recorded that. I assumed that Judy's smiling face would be here, so she's attending in the audience with everybody else. But feel free to chat her up.
Here's one that is officially for Chrissy. We use EDI for our customers, but have struggled with our suppliers. Is this something that SPS Commerce can help with?
Yeah, it's actually the core, I would say, of our business. We've been helping companies connect with their suppliers for the better part of 20 years, and really where we started. In that scenario, there are two flavors, I would say, is you typically have a large supplier or manufacturer, think of like Procter & Gamble. They will likely have defined specifications they want you to meet. We can accommodate that. And or you may have smaller or medium-sized suppliers and manufacturers where you want to actually do the dictating of those EDI specifications. We will help build them for you, and we will onboard those suppliers on your behalf. So we do that in whether it's one supplier or think all the way up to the big retailers where we're doing 1,000-2,000 supplier onboarding engagements. But we do those engagements all the time with a lot of success.
Here's one for Brian. Where are my items shipped to cross references housed? In ERP or in EDI?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for master data information, items, shipping methods, ship to locations, Dynamics houses that information. And so the system automation leverages the details that you have set up inside of Dynamics. We do run across some scenarios that EDI needs to enhance, and so we have built out some additional abilities beyond what, for instance, Business Central and Finance and Operation has. But we are super mindful of leveraging that master data that you've already set up and are maintaining, inside of Dynamics.
One thing I would just add there for the audience, sorry, Grant, just 1 second. One thing I would add for the audience is Brian mentioned in the session at the beginning, he's been doing this a very long time. So if you're in a spot where you need to evaluate EDI, you should at least get engaged to help. We can help you not only evaluate, but Brian's deep domain expertise is unmatched in the industry. So thanks, Brian, for being awesome.
Thanks.
And he must be working with a great solution, because all those years and he still has his hair. He hasn't pulled it out. So, you know.
My daughter's trying, so.
Let's see, Chrissy, here's one for you. We get that you do EDI, but what about other protocol like APIs and marketplaces? Can you guys help with that?
Yeah, so you can think about SPS Commerce in the center of that. So whether it's EDI X12, XML flat file, API, however it is that your trading partner wants to connect, we can accommodate that. We are expanding on the marketplace footprint side. So whatever your trading partner requirements are, I would encourage you to engage us, and we're able to accommodate.
Let's see, Brian, I've got one other for you. We're looking to move from on-premise to D365. What's that project look like in terms of duration and complexity?
Yeah, absolutely.
From an
so
EDI perspective, obviously.
Yeah, each project obviously has some unique considerations. The value of, again, SPS and Data Masons is, helping so many organizations through that exact journey. And so, with our solution, we see some scenarios depending on the length of the overall, ERP upgrade, where SPS will engage early with, helping to replace some of the existing EDI components, making the overall Dynamics ERP upgrade a lot easier. Other scenarios where, again, our platform is used, for Dynamics 365. The value of the SPS offering is we can move you to, a full cloud deployment. Many organizations, really want to maximize their resources and, really don't want to have servers in-house and large IT staffs to maintain those. Again, the SPS offering, moves you to more of that software as a service model. In your deployment, again, depending on the types of business partners you're trading with, the number of business partners and documents, our professional services organization will, customize a plan that's specific to you. A lot of times we are working in your test environment, working through the different scenarios, because again, in that deployment, you may be looking at, re-engineering business processes. I'm seeing a lot of organizations, because of how much investment that Microsoft has made with Dynamics 365, they're actually able to eliminate modifications they had to do with AX. And so EDI becomes a critical part of that overall upgrade process. So things that, again, that we would talk to you about as far as your specific situation.
I'm going to give this one to both of you. The question is, we are a Data Masons customer who is live and stable on your EDI solution. What value could we look to gain from moving to SPS?
So maybe I'll just take that one first, Brian. So for customers that are live on Data Masons today, the value / difference in the SPS full service offering is, if you recall back to that slide where I talked about point-to-point connections in that Data Masons environment, by default, they're point-to-point connections to Target and Walmart and Costco, let's say. Moving those to the SPS platform really just reduces the risk for your organization, because you have one connection point to SPS versus those individual connections to the trading partners, and does two really important things for you. You no longer have to call your trading partner, not only during implementation, but when there are issues, and you don't have to chase down communication issues. So if data today is lost at your van level, or your AS2 software you have an issue with, it's no longer on you to do that. That the SPS team does that on your behalf. So I would say it is reducing risk in the day-to-day maintenance of those point-to-point connections. What would you add, Brian?
Yeah, and I mean, to me, what comes to mind, because I do get this question asked, one, you have the same great integration layer for both solutions. And so, a lot of the capabilities that you've come to know and love, that remains the same. Again, when I think about the values of the full service, Chrissy definitely hit on a couple of those areas where, today, with the Data Mason solution, you have, some ownership in regards to contacting the trading partners and, some of the overall, day-to-day functionality. By moving to full service, again, it's exactly that. It's that, white glove, kind of experience where you can kind of focus in on more of the strategic elements of your business and really outsource, not only the mapping, but really, that day-to-day element in regards to the EDI integration. We also see for some organizations that, again, maybe not all of their business partners, require, that deep level of integration. And so again, SPS has, options for, those lower volume business partners as well. So really bringing everything together, in one communication platform. Again, I'm seeing other organizations, take advantage.
I think that pretty much wraps up the questions we have in the queue thus far. You're welcome to contact us directly or go into our booth and submit questions or schedule time with any of the experts. And thank you very much for Chrissy and Brian for sharing your insights. And we look forward to meeting with you in the near future. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Cheers.